is an internet protocol which is known as an IP address? The internet protocol IP is a protocol or the set of rules for routing and addressing packet of data so that they can travel across a network and arrive at a correct destination. It's like an address of a device where it's like could be like 192.168.1.1 and so on. That means where to know, so computer or the server can know or the router can know where the place of that device is. So it does not confuse between different devices. So it's like it gives each device a number. So internet protocol or IP address is given to a device once it's connected on the internet or on in a network. Data traversing the internet is divided into smaller pieces called packets. So data traversing the internet is divided into smaller pieces called packets. IP information is attached to each packet, and to this information helps the router to send the packet to a right place. So each packet which contain information, it could the data from for example one computer to another, so it would know the destination, like one is for computer number 1 and 2 is for computer number 2. It makes easier for a computer or a server to send the data. Every device or domain that connect to an internet is assigned an IP address, and as the packets are directed to an IP address attached to them, data arrives where it is needed. So it will go to its exact place or destination with the help of IP address. Now, for example, I gave you like Facebook, they have their own IP address, Google have their own IP address. So once you type www.facebook.com, behind it it has an IP address. So once you type it and press enter, your computer will go to the server which for LTT, and it know that you're asking for what? You're asking for a Facebook or a YouTube, depends what you have typed in your URL bar. Once the packet arrive at a destination, they are handled differently depending on which transport protocol is used to combination on with the IP. The most common transport protocol are known as TCP and UDP. These are the protocols they use. As I said that each country or each place, they have their own network and they have their own protocol. So when I'm sending from one place to another, they're going to move the IP addresses which is not needed. They will just take the raw data and they're going to convert it, or just you can say that wrap it in according to their protocol, and they're going to send it to the user. What is a network protocol? What is a network protocol? In a networking, a protocol is standardized way of doing certain action and formatting the data so that two or more devices are able to communicate with and understanding each other. So if there's no IP address or if there's no protocols, the set of rules that how two computers will communicate with each other or understand each other, it's going to be difficult. So that's why IP is important, to know the destination of the device, and then it has their own set of rules how they're going to communicate with each other. To understand why protocols are necessary, consider the process of mailing a letter. They give an example of consider the process mailing letter. That means you're sending a mail on a using postcard or envelope to your friend. On the envelope, what you're going to write? You're going to write the address written in a following order. That means to whom you want to send. So it won't be an unknown letter. Name, street address, city, state, and zip code. If an envelope is dropped in a mailbox with a zip code written first, followed by the street address or followed by the state and so on, the post office won't deliver it. Why he won't deliver it? Because it has a certain protocol. You won't be able to deliver it on a right place because it does not contain name. It's all mixed up. So they have a protocol, the step, the procedure, how they follow. They're in and agreed upon a protocol for writing an address in order for a postal system to work. In the same way, all IP data packets must present a certain information in a certain order, and all IP addresses follow a standardized format. So it has their standard it should follow, so the computers can communicate with each other. What is an IP address and how IP address work? An IP address is a unique identifier assigned to a device or a domain that connect to an internet. So a unique, that means once a network or a router or server assign you an IP address, no other computer can have the same IP address to make your device unique, which make easier for a server or a router to identify or to know your destination. If I have two, for example, the same, they have the same IP address, once I'm sending an information, my computer or router will be confused to whom it need to send. So that's why an IP address is a unique identifier assigned to a device or a domain that connects to an internet. Each IP address is a series of characters such as here 192.168.1.1. This is for the users, numbers of users. Yeah. This one is going to be your number of user, and this is going to be your domain. Your domain. And resolver, which translate the human readable domain name into an IP address. Users are able to access websites without memorizing this complex series of characters, means IP address. Domain name like Facebook, www.facebook is a name of a domain.com. So instead of memorizing the IP address, what you are going to do, it translated for the human readable domain name into an IP address. Computer take it as an IP address, but we human, we read it as a number like facebook.com, youtube.com and so on. Each IP packet will contain both IP addresses to device or the domain sending the packet and IP address of the intended recipient, much like how both destination address and return the address are including the piece of mail. So it will go, it has an IP address, it will go there, it will resolve it and take the information, for example, and it will come back to the same IP address. For example, when I send an email address to someone, so what I'm doing, my packet, I'm sending information in a packet and my packet has an IP address. It will go to their zone, it's going to convert it and take the information. We are going to type the message or whatever, going to reply the message, same process will come because it will contain their IP address where they want to deliver, and it will come on my email address. Domain in server. Now what is a domain in server? A Windows domain is a form of a computer network in which all users, account computers, printers and other security principals are registered with the central database located on one or more cluster of a central computers known as domain controller. Make it easier for you, domain is like one zone, like zone 1, zone 2, and this is a one head of that server which controls all the information, all the network, or all the computers, I would say, like to whom it can control. It can give the access, limited access to some computers and more access to other computers, and depend and share resources according to the need of each one. So this is a role of a domain server. So all computers should be in one domain, then they are able to share the resources, and it would make easier for an administrator to control the data, and to give to and set the protocols and the rules which are maybe required from the companies. Like you have HR department, so you don't want to give them all the access. So once they're connected, you will be able to control and give them access according to the policies of the company. Authentication takes place on the domain controller. So once you're connected to it, this authentication whom, like let's take HR department. So you will be, once your computer is connected, you will say HR department computer 1, you have an IP address, so you authentication, you should have a username and password. So once you enter, you will begin access to that zone. Domain in network. A network domain is an administrator group of multiple private computers, network or host within the same infrastructure. That you have multiple computers and multiple hosts in one infrastructure. Domain can be identified using domain name. Domain which need to be accessible from a public internet can be assigned a globally unique name within the domain name system. That means if you want to use or assign, that means as in an international website, so you can just sorry class, so you can add a hypertext link to it. What is IP for? It is known as IP, Internet Protocol version 4. And IP for version 4 was the first version of IP. It was developed for production in ARPANET in 1983. Today, it is the most widely used IP version. It is used to identify device on a network using an addressing system. The IP version 4 uses 32-bit address scheme following the store of to the power 32 address, which is more than 4 billion address. That means all over the world they are using for more than 4 billion address, and each one is unique. Till the date, it considered the primary internet protocol and carries 94% of internet traffic. Now what does internet traffic means here? The transmission of data from one place to another. What is IP version 4? Now they're upgrading, because now they have, as you know, that the population of the world is getting more and more by days, and IP version is not able to take, by upcoming years it won't be able to connect all the computers because there will be less IP address. So now the world is moving to IP version 6. So it is the most recent version of internet protocol. Internet engineer task force initiated it in early 1994. The design and development of that suite is now called IP version 4. This is new IP addressing version is being developed to fulfill the need for more internet addresses. Was aimed to resolve the issues which are associated with IP version 4 within 128-bit address space. It allows 340 undeclared unique address space. IP version 4, also called IPNG, Internet Protocol Next Generation. Now you can see that it's 1994, but we are now in 2020. They did not convert it, because if they change it at once, some of the countries they are using IP version 4, IP version 6, but most commonly all over the world is being used IP version 4. So to convert to IP version 6, like most of the countries, some countries they're using IP version 4, but once it would make convert from IP version 4 to 6, it's going to take a lot of time. That means you have to change the whole network, the whole system of the world together, and they are gradually changing from IP4 to IP6. What is an IP packet? An IP packet created by by adding an IP header to each packet of data before it's sent to on its way. An IP header is just a series of bits, zeros and one, binary numbers, and records several pieces of information about the packet, including sending, receiving IP address. That means what does the packet contain? It has a number header. It contains the sending and the including receiving IP address, where to send, and when it comes back, on which IP address it will receive it back. So IP header also reports header length and packet length. TLT, time to live, for how long it will stay, or the numbers of the network hoops a packet can make before it is created, which transport protocol is being used, TCP, UDP and etc, etc. How does IP, in total there are 14 fields of information in IP headers, although one of them is an optional. How does an IP routing works? The internet is made up of an interconnected large network that are each responsible for a certain blocks of IP addresses. These large networks are known as autonomous system AS. So each they have certain responsible. They have interconnected large network that are each responsible for a certain block of an IP address. These large networks are known as autonomous system AS. A variety of routing protocols including BGP help the route packets across SS based on their destination IP addresses. Routers have routing table and includes which SS the packets should travel through in order to reach the desired destination as quickly as possible. Packets travel from AS to AS until they reach one that claims responsibility for the target IP address. As that AS then internally routes the packet to the destination. As I said that the world is different, is a full combination of different network altogether, and in between them you have switches, you have routers, so it's going to choose the route quickest way and quickest way to reach to its destination. And once it's passing and it has that IP address, the host will know that where it should receive, like a magnet. It will take it. For example, if I'm going Google Drive is in UK, so once I'm going there, there are many, it's going to pass through many countries or many routers and many switches. So it once it's passing in a line, it will move to UK to a Google Drive, a server where the Google has made a special place or a SAN network for their data for your data, so you can save your data there. Packets can take different routes to the same place if necessary, just as a group of people driving to an agreed upon a destination can different roads to go get there. It's the same way. That means if I'm traveling from one place to another, I can know I'm going to choose this quickest and the quickest path to reach to my destination. Now, what is an TCP/IP? The transmission controls protocols TCP TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. It's a transport protocol, meaning it dictates the way the data is sent and received. That means how it will go and how you're going to receive it. It dictates it. TCP address is including in the data portion for each packet that uses TCPIP. Before transmitting data, TCP open a connection with the recipient, that means the receiver. The TCP ensure that all the packets arrive in order one transmission begin. Via TCP, the recipient will acknowledge the receiving each packet that arrives, and missing packets will be sent again if receipt is not acknowledged. That means one is been sent to a receipt, or the person who is going to receive, or the device I'm going to send to, they are going to send me an acknowledged matter. If that thing is not acknowledged by me, that means that message which I sent will be received back to me. For example, once I'll give you a simple example of it. If you type a wrong email address, you see that they send you your email back by sending a message that this email does not exist, or there's something wrong, and so on. And once it been sent, they send you a message, your message been sent successfully. TCP is designed for reliability, not speed, because TCP has to make sure all the packets arrive in order, loading data via TCP/IP. TCP is not responsible how fast the information or the data will go, but it's responsible for reliability and accurate. That means it should receive or send this, make sure of the packets, those who are arriving there should be in order. Take longer if some packets are missing. So if something is missing, some packets are missing, TCP will take some time to search for it and then send it. TCP and IP were originally designed to be used together, and these are often referred as the TCP/I suite. However, other transport protocols can be used in TCP. So one of the protocol, TCP is name of one of the protocol we use in our devices, which is known as Transmission Control Protocol. Now, what is UDPIP? User Datagram Protocol, or UDP, is another widely used transport protocol. It is faster than TCP. So here UDP is faster than TCP, but it is also less reliable. So TCP/I is much reliable comparing to UDP, but UDP is much faster than TCP. UDP does not make sure all the packets delivered and in order, and it does not establish a connection before being or receiving transmission. Now, whereas TCP make sure the connection between receiving and before whom he's going to send, and make sure of all the packages before sending and once it received back. UDP/IP is usually utilized for streaming audio or videos, as these are use cases where the risk of dropped packets, meaning missing data, is outweighed by the need of the key transmission. Basically, they said for live streaming they're going to use UDP. So if it's okay if some files are missing, but the data will still keep on working. The real time, for instance, when users are watching a video online, not every pixel has to be present. So even if there's 1 or 2 pixels are missing, your video will still work. So that's why it's not that reliable, but it's working faster. For every frame of the video, the user would rather have a video play at a normal speed than sit and wait for each bit of data to be delivered. So instead of waiting for each bit, because if TCP is responsible for video streaming, that means if even 1 bit is missing, you have to wait for it, and your video won't be fast. You have to wait for it until you receive it, then the video will continue. But if you're using UDP, it is not necessary that all the pixel or all the bits need to be there to make that video or streaming work. Okay, that's for part 2 students, and we are going to continue our third part later on in our third video.